Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of my Road to 1% Mythic Plus series. Today we're heading into a 19 Nexus-Point Xenas-Point Nexus. No. At this time of this run, I was sitting at 3771 Mythic Plus rating, and we're continuing the push towards that top 1% cutoff. And Nexus-Point Xenas can get a little chaotic in the first few pulls before the first boss, so this run was definitely about staying ahead of all that incoming damage and planning my cooldowns properly and trying not to fall behind, especially as a disciplined priest. So throughout the run, I'll be breaking down my healing decisions, cooldown usage, and what I was thinking during some of the more dangerous pulls. And if you'd like to watch my climb live, I stream my progression on both Twitch and TikTok Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, where you can hang out, ask questions, and watch these runs happen in real time. With that all said, let's get into the key. Alright, so this first pull, sometimes they will pull the middle of the room, or sometimes they will go directly to the left and they'll pull more on the left. In this case, we're going in the middle. So, this pull isn't too bad since it is the middle. It's really when we start going on that left side, that's when issues start happening. So I think the only thing you really have to worry about here, I think there's some heal absorbs. I know the lingering images, they do a frontal, so make sure you watch out for that. It's kind of hard to see on the ground. There it is right there. You can see it there, but it can be hard to see. And also we have the pools that are on the ground that are just from the environment, so watch out for that. But the tank will have a heal absorb, there's also a dispel. Usually if this is your first pull, it's not that bad. It's really this next pull that could get a little dicey. So I don't know, I don't remember if we have engineering for this, but if you do, you can get rid of these beams. If not, just be aware of them. I've done this enough to remember, oh yeah, there's a beam there. So okay, you can get rid of this like dot. It's kind of like how in Seat, it has like a dot with a circle. You can get rid of that with Fade. So I used Fade for that initial pull, but I'm gonna use it there and get rid of that. So you want to make sure you have that as much as possible. Obviously, not every time you're gonna be able to use it, but as long as you can use it, it'll significantly help. I believe in this next pull too, it helps a lot. You definitely want to make sure you're dotting everything, even the mana battery. You might as well, when it does spawn. So your DPS obviously want to make sure they're getting that mana battery, mana batteries when they spawn. I've had a couple instances where groups just don't get it down and fast enough. Also, you want to make sure you're being aware because you could easily just butt pull here. This pull is kind of bad, only because of how much space you don't have really. One of the ads does a pulsating AoE. I forget which one. I think I forget which one, but one of the ads does that, so you want to make sure you're aware of that. Also, like I said, the pools are a thing. So I know there was like in that first room it was the environment. This is from one of the ads. So you want to make sure the pools go away after a while, but just make sure you're watching your feet here. But again, like I said, watch the pools, and the heal absorb is I think most of the time on the tank. I pulled right there, but the tank was gonna pull that anyways. So, but I didn't realize I was that close to the mob there. So, like I said, please be careful in this area. It's not a lot of space. You could definitely easily pull something and essentially wipe your group. Make sure you're keeping up those spells. Those definitely matter. And like I said, the heal absorbs. I PS the tank there because it was getting to be a little much. But I think most of these packs, they they do a lot of heal absorbs. I did mana pot right there because I just wasn't gonna get enough mana. I do try to like after this pull, I try to drink before that next pack before the boss, but you should be able to drink right before the boss. Alright, so this is honestly going pretty well. I think we did a run right before this with the same group. I think whoever had it had a 19 Rizilki, and we went left first as opposed to doing the middle, and it was not good. But I think also if you don't, if the mana batteries spawn and you're not like targeting them or like, I think you can drop out of combat. I'm pretty sure that's happened to me before. So I'm able to drink right here. I don't really get too much off because of the tank dropping right there, and I was like, oh, I don't want to mess anything up. Also, if you have Shaman, Spirit, it's not Spirit Run, Wind Rush Totem, that can get you out of those as well, because it is like a root. So there's that. This pack isn't too bad. It's really if yeah, I've had this like be bad. I think there's like kicks that some DPS need to do. I know that's the AoE thing is still here happening. It's only really that stressful if your DPS isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing, and if you do get that pulsating circle on you, it can be a little stressful. So make sure you try to save Fade for this. Like I said, aggro shouldn't be too big of an issue here. These ads genuinely do stick on the tank, at least bear tanks. So there's that. So after that, I'm gonna drink. Definitely need to drink before this boss. This boss is fairly easy. It just can get a little crammed. I usually stay out. I know everybody's over there, and I'm just kind of like, oh, I'm over here.
Watch your step.
I usually move in after we clear those first beams. So either that or I'll just stay out. Basically, this boss isn't too bad. You really just have to watch the pools that he drops and the big AoE ball that gives everyone a heal absorb. That is probably the worst of this boss. That big heal absorb. You definitely want to make sure you keep your evangelism for that, because like I said, it's a heal absorb. You want to be healing everybody as much as possible. Now this kind of, I guess it didn't spawn in a really bad area. I just thought it was going to be spawning in a better area, I guess I should say. So I basically get everyone healed up. If you can get a void shield there, please use it, because that will also really help. I think some of my DPS had a void shield there, so it definitely helped. And I, obviously, as you can see, it can get very crammed, especially with the pools dropping, and you have kind of limited space depending on where the lines are. But
stay away from lines.
Yeah, it can be kind of bad.
Watch your
step. Also, just be aware, DHs are known for like kind of standing, or at least Devourer DHs, I should say, not just DHs. They're kind of known for just standing there. So just be aware of that. I got a void shield off there. I do use uppies here. It does help. I would say use it on a don't DPS it, essentially. Don't target the boss and use it. Use it on a player.
Stay away from lines.
So I clear all those beams, thankfully, and I also got hit by a beam. Really, this boss is just watch your feet, watch where the beams are spawning.
Stay away from lines.
It's not too bad. Like I said, really the scary part is when the big heal absorb goes off. But it's okay. As long as you watch your feet and get that heal absorb healed through, you should be fine. And like I said, try your best to get a void shield proc there. I got one again, and I use evangelism, and you want to make sure you're just directly healing everybody. Don't try to atonement heal this at all. You will fall so far behind, and it will be so bad. Okay. I thought I was going to use Desert Prayer, but I don't
Stay
have
away
it,
from
so
lines.
I'm surprised I didn't PS myself. Usually I'd be kind of
Watch
scared
your
there.
step.
If it was a 20, I'd probably PS myself. Um, but yeah, like I said, this boss literally does the same thing over and over again. So just make sure you're prepared for
Watch your
that
step.
uh that heal
Watch your
absorb. That's
step.
what it's called. I was gonna say detonation. I think it is technically called like a detonation or something. You should only get 3 cycles of these. Because here we just don't. I don't have an evangelism for it, so it is kind of scary. But you should be fine. If your group is going for another, like if another one happens, I don't think you have enough DPS. Maybe in like higher keys you'll have another one, but and you'll have to improvise, but I don't really think so. So I also try to drink right here, but I honestly didn't use that much mana, but I'm still trying to get kind of ahead so I can drink. I always do that. Um so you can either lust on these ads or the next or the boss, I should say. I believe we decided to save it just for the boss. This boss is a very heal intensive boss. I'm pretty sure you could fade this also. I could be wrong, but I'm not too sure. So don't quote me on that one. These mobs, I like to stand so far away from them because of the little ghosts going out. They're kind of like the balls in a seat that you want to avoid. So just make sure you're like so far away from these mobs, just dotting everything. These next mob paps are not difficult at all. All they really do is put a heal absorb out, so you want to make sure you're getting that. Unless you have like decurses, then obviously it'll be a lot easier. But other than that, just stand far away so you can see when the little ghosties or little voidlings, whatever you want to call them. I see them as ghosts, even though they're definitely not. But you definitely want to avoid them. I've had instances where people have just stood on them, especially if they're melee, because they does tend to spawn like right on top of that mob or very close to that mob. And if you're melee, just not watching, you can easily succumb to them. Same thing. I think all of these ads are pretty much the same. None of them are really that different. Even the ads right before the boss. It's kind of annoying, or they are kind of annoying, but you know what? Just try to stay away. They also, unfortunately, that was our only death this run, but it was a death. I think the DH kind of ripped aggro there. Like I said, these ads on this side, they will rip aggro, especially right before the boss. It is, oh my goodness, it is so bad. I've had a death right before, like when the ads are spawning, and I was drinking, and it was just bad. So either way, I think the DH just had some unfortunate thing happen. So moving on though, like I said, we get a little pulsing AoE, we got the little voidlings or ghosts as I call them, coming out. Just like I said, make sure you're just aware of your surroundings. Also, the things on the floor, like the scratches from Luthraxian, just make sure you're not in that. Not that anyone's having a problem with that, but it does do damage. Um, but yes, so this boss, I know we're not there yet, but the boss, you really want to make sure you save if you're saving lust for the boss, you want to make sure you save your uppies. Um, if you save your uppies, you will do so much damage to the boss. You will, it's just phenomenal, okay? In that burn phase, I should say. So, okay, the DH ate one of the ghosts, as you can see, and you don't die. It's just it can be bad, especially if like that pulsing AOE is going off. But anyways, the boss. So you want to make sure you use uppies if you're using lust. They will lust during that first burn phase. Make sure you PI someone. Also, basically want to get that boss as low as possible that first time around. More than likely, you're gonna have another round of that, so you want to make sure you evangelism for that as well. So make sure you're kind of on top of that. Avoid shields, like I said, always saving the day. Just trying to make sure you keep that penance on cooldown. I feel like that's one of the things that I struggle with is keeping penance on cooldown, and I feel like that kind of affects like my raid healing. My dungeon healing is fine. I do tend, I think it's just because there's less people. Um, I wouldn't say I struggle with raid healing, but either way, this isn't about that. Um, so these ads right before the boss starts spawning, its ads. Um, there's another lingering image. Nothing too serious. Like I said, you want to just kind of stay away from the group because you have that little whirlwind there. It's not fun. The lingering images also, they put out a dot and you can't really see the dot. And we're gonna see in that last phase, it is not fun. Or not last phase. The last ads before the last boss. It's not fun. You just gotta be aware. Also, whenever these ads spawn, you want to fade immediately. Either that or you want to be like on the stairs, something. I've heard that people, whenever they need a drink, they drink on the stairs so they're not in this little arena. Because like I said, they just have aggro on anyone, and if you're not the tank, it's not gonna be good. So just make sure you're being aware of that. I was I was thinking, oh my goodness, if I get clipped by this, I'm gonna be so upset, but I didn't, thankfully, by the little ghosty thing. Um, so usually I don't really need to drink during this like ad wave thing before the boss. I make sure to fade there because the ad spawn, like whenever these ads spawn, just fade. Just be safe and just fade. Okay? Like you don't want to ruin a run because you rip aggro or the ads just think you're the most aggressive there. Especially since you're already having like some healing out and everything, it can be bad. So yeah, like I said, these ads are fairly easy. It's really like, I mean, this whole dungeon I feel is like fairly easy. It's definitely one of the easier dungeons. Um, like I did a 20 the other day and we barely timed it, but we timed it, and I hadn't done a 20 of that like ever. I was having more issues with 19s than 20s. It was weird. Like I said, it's usually that first pull of the dungeon. I mean, that's a make or break for a lot of the dungeons this season, I feel, which does make sense, but yeah. So the boss is spawning. I'm able to drink. I have some void shield procs, and we're good. So for this, you kind of just want to make sure whoever has the AoE thing, the marks on them, that's what it's called. Just make sure they're healed. It does some AoE pulsating damage. Or not AoE damage, but pulsating damage. So just make sure you're aware of that. Also, ads spawn during this. Make sure to fade. I didn't fade there, but I don't think I felt the need. But I would fade there just in case. So now we're preparing for this. So we're about to lust, I'm pretty sure. Yes, lust. I don't have PI. I guess I use evangelism and PS here. I don't think, I mean, maybe that's fine. I just think I'm like overthinking it a little bit. I don't know. I did that for like my 20 run as well. I think PS should be, or not PS, not, what is this called? Uppies. Uppies should be fine there. Then again, it's kind of over and done with. Since you do lust there, if you do lust there. So, I don't know. Do with it, I don't know. I feel like maybe that's fine. Maybe. I don't know. I guess I didn't have an issue with this. But you definitely, in the higher keys, this does get a lot scary, the burn phase. If everybody is getting low, you want to make sure they step out. Not that they will, but yeah. Or have darkness like the CH does. It significantly helps. If you have a DK or, like I said, DH with darkness, it definitely helps. But if you don't have evangelism, just make sure you get your void procs and you should be fine. Like I said, darkness there definitely helps.
Spread.
If you don't have anything, just be prepared to use a external. So yeah. Otherwise, this boss is basically dead. I mean, the boss already starts at like 60% and you're doing burn phases on them. So it's not too bad. I think we might have one more. We might have one more. Or it'll be like the start of one. But I have evangelism for this one, so it's not that big of a deal. Just make sure you're not in the boss, or like in the way of when Lathraxian does that. Like I said, I had evangelism, so I knew it was going to be fine. Alright, so we're already pretty much almost done. Like I said, this dungeon isn't too bad. The ads aren't too bad. They could just be kind of annoying, I guess. I think most of them do like AoE damage, and the damage they do isn't too bad. I don't know. People may disagree that this dungeon is kind of difficult, but I tend to drink here. I know they're trying to obviously get this going, but if you click on it repetitively, it'll do that process or fill that bar a lot faster. All right, so here's comes the other hard part of this. So, like I said, the lingering images, they put a dot on you, or can put a dot on you, and then you have these stupid, like fey things, like light fey things that also can just target you, and I believe they put a dot on you as well. So you want to just be very, very aware. It's it could be scary. Not this pack so much. It's like the next packs. I mean, actually no. I think maybe the elementals have that. I could be wrong. All I know is the bats, they aren't fun. The elementals, I think they do or put that dot. It's either the bats, the elementals, or the lingering image. I don't know. I think it may be the elementals. Because I think I've had instances where it's been kind of hard to heal because I think people just don't do kicks. Because I think the elementals do a cast that puts that dot on people. And like I said, if you have the lingering image dot as well, it's not fun. It can definitely hurt. So, and that's also why. Well, I guess we have two lingering images here. I was gonna say that's kind of why we don't usually have two lingering images, but it doesn't really matter, I guess. They don't care. I think it's just an issue when you have those elementals and the two lingering images. Like here we have the bats. That's not too bad. Also, be aware of that frontal. Like I almost stood in that. That would have been bad. So now we're on the last boss. Lovely. This boss is so easy. Like, I used a mana pot there. I didn't have too much mana, but you don't really need that much mana. Whenever when he casts these three pools or whatever and the ads come out, or not ads, but images, I should say, they come out. Just, you get an AoE dot there. Just make sure you're aware of that. Obviously avoid this. They're very straightforward. And you're not gonna have to worry about really anything in this boss. Like you're not kicking and doing anything for that in the transition phase. So all you gotta do is do damage and heal everybody. I mean, also for everybody
Phase
else.
change.
I think usually the tank tries to kick the image, the correct image, so just be aware of that. Usually they're pretty quick at it, but if they're not, you know, just be aware. We kind of took a while to find it, but you want to make sure you find it. Not that you're doing it if you're a priest, but you know. I used uppies there. I think I usually do that on this boss. I use it after that burn phase, or not burn phase, the add phase or transition phase, whatever you want to call it. And I will probably
Watch your
use
step.
evangelism after when we get into that transitional phase because it does do pulsating a lot of pulsating damage when
Watch
when
your
you're
step.
finding that correct one. So just be aware of that. Also, I'm pretty sure you can like stack these. Um, at least that's what I've heard. We're moving the boss, but I'm like, oh my god, there's so much going on. But yeah. Also, I think if you get knocked into one of the images, it may be bad. I don't really know. It's been a while since that has happened. So, just be aware of things. Like I said, this boss is so fairly easy. Like all you gotta do is make sure you're just doing damage. I mean, it does have a lot of health, so just be prepared for a long fight. But clearly, as you're looking at the timer, we have plenty of time. I mean, we have
Watch your
4 minutes
step.
left. That's crazy. Um, so at least there's that. Like I said, the boss just does the same thing over and over
Watch
again.
your step.
It's really not that difficult. Yeah, get your void shield procs, that's for sure. Those are definitely important. Especially in that
Watch
transitional
your
phase, I
step.
would say. Try to get that going. Um, and just really avoid these images as much as you can. We're going back into that transitional phase. I don't have evangelism, but I do a radiance. And like I said, you definitely probably don't want to damage any of those images. I think I might have before in the past, but it may cause an issue. So I just don't. I don't ignore them, but I just don't. I don't bother with them, I should say. So yeah, this like I said, this boss just takes a
Watch your
while to
step.
kill, especially in higher keys. It's kind of annoying, but especially when there's not really much variety in what's happening. But
Watch your step.
that's fine. So more of these images, getting spawned, avoid the pools. Like I said, this
Watch
boss is
your
so
step.
easy. I think we get the boss here. Pretty sure we do. Right before the transitional phase, because the phases really just slow you down. But yeah, all done. And that is my 19 Nexus-Point Xenas. Overall, this was a very, very solid run. And there were definitely a few chaotic moments where the damage started getting a little scary, especially there at the end. But we managed to recover, keep everything under control, and finish the key within the timer. Just a reminder that you can catch the progress live on both Twitch and TikTok, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode of the Road to 1% series. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next key.